Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
Hey, peace and blessings, family, and welcome to Sunday Sitting with Sisters. I've had the pleasure of working with this person, but I also have a lot of respect, and I always feel like, man, this is like the big mama of the support for girls and women, especially if you're with child. Thank you so much for joining me, Miss Leona Spivey. How are you?
I'm doing great, Rolanda. How are you?
Good. It's so good to see you. So
You
I
as
wanted to bring you on, and I want to talk about infant mortality and what's happening with us in our community, but also the organization that you work for and the support you provide to help us have healthier birth outcomes. And so what I want to do, Leona, before we get started, I want to start with a video of
okay.
a story, because this will really basically take us right into what we're talking about. I always say it's always good to have a good example
Okay.
before we get started. Hold, let me see which one this is. But before we hit that, Leona, give us a little bit background. Like, what made you start to do the work that you're doing? What made you start that?
I was in between a job and I was looking for a job, so I put in for it when it was birthing project, and I got hired. Miss Tina Roberts hired me, and I was the transportation outreach worker, and so years tomorrow, actually I know it's been 21 years plus, maybe a few
Wow.
months. Yeah, my goddaughter will be 21 tomorrow.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
and I started transporting her mother when she was about 3 weeks to 4 weeks pregnant, and we built a relationship, and I've just taken on this job. I love it. I love working with moms. I I love working with all moms, but in my current job, we only service African American women, but it's still a great feeling. I believe all babies are important. I believe in order to have a healthy baby, you have to have a healthy mom. And so that's one of I have a shirt that says that. It's not about me or you, it's about a healthy mom and healthy babies.
Right
Um,
on.
so, like I said, it's been 21 years, started as the transportation driver, outreach worker. Once that position ended, I became a CPHW, a comprehensive perinatal health service worker. And from that, I left for a little while, came back. It was only 3 years. Came back and just picked up right where I left off.
Wow.
I came back as a pregnancy coach, and now I'm the program manager for Black Mothers United.
So we're gonna get into all of that after this clip. So that's a perfect lead up. Let me share this here, because to let people know you definitely have some experience in this field. So let me just play this here for us.
Okay.
Racial or ethnic group from childbirth-related complications. Families affected by this tragedy share their stories on the day their lives changed forever. Janae Norman has this report.
What was supposed to be the start of a new life turned out to be the end of another. 26-year-old Amber Rose Isaac was preparing to give birth at the height of the coronavirus pandemic in New York City in April, when everything changed for her partner Bruce.
And I just remember staring and, looking at her face and seeing how scared she was, panicking a bit. And so I'm telling her, yeah, we're going home. This is what we prepared for. This is what we were ready for. It's time. And she looked at me and said, yes, all three of us are going home. And that was the last time I seen Amber.
Amber posted on Twitter about, quote, dealing with incompetent doctors. She died 4 days later. Bruce says Amber tried advocating for herself, but doctors just wouldn't listen.
She voiced her concerns to her OB. She was letting her know, she's not feeling right. She's feeling a lot of discomfort. She's having shortness of breath. And her OB didn't really understand. She was like, oh, well, there are other women who are working while they're pregnant. So that right there just told me she didn't really care about Amber.
In a statement, the hospital spokesperson saying 94% of our deliveries are minority mothers, and Montefiore's maternal mortality rate of 0.01% is lower than both New York City and national averages, adding any maternal death is a tragedy. Amber's story is not uncommon. July 2nd, 26-year-old Sha'Asia Washington died during an emergency C-section. And July 27th, Yolanda Kadima, a doula and mom of 7, died giving birth to twins, also during an emergency C-section. Experts like Professor Deirdre Cooper Owens, who's written about how race and gender impacted American gynecology, say the struggles these women face throughout their pregnancies and childbirth all come down to racism.
You see that class and status tend to matter. The higher up you go, right, the kind of better protected you are. That doesn't exist for Black women because we're all experiencing racism in the same way. So when I walk into the office, nobody knows if I'm married or have a PhD or what my income is. The assumption is I might be lying, maybe I'm promiscuous, maybe I don't eat well. I should still be given fair treatment and equitable treatment by my doctor.
My first pregnancy, my birthing experience was pretty traumatic.
And then he actually punctured my spinal cord. I was temporarily paralyzed.
We were so excited about bringing Jason to this world, and then the last 2 or 3 days of his birthing process was too tragic.
I was bullied and I was abused emotionally and physically, in the sense that consent was not asked for as often as it should have been.
It took me a while to find a provider that I trusted and that respected me.
We lost him due to what is known as HELP syndrome. We found out later on that his death could have been prevented, as well as the traumatic birthing experience that she experienced.
So many Black families with similar stories, and these experiences add to a mistrust between the Black community and the medical community, a relationship with a long, dark history dating back centuries.
Enslaved Black women were experimented on, particularly during the 19th century. So a little bit in the 18th century, but largely in the 19th century, as obstetrics and gynecology became more formal and accepted branches of medicine. Marion Sims, known as the father of American gynecology, pioneers the surgery to correct this obstetrical fistula condition. People didn't know that he experimented on enslaved women. They didn't know that 2.5 years into his experimental trial, when his white medical assistants quit, he trained these enslaved women to serve as nurses. They were still his patients. They were still his slaves that he either owned or leased, and they still served as surgical assistants. So that part of the story was left out.
The success of James Marion Sims earned him the nickname of the father of modern gynecology. But his legacy is marred by the fact he earned it on the backs of Black slaves through non-consensual human experimentation without anesthesia. Now, doctors like Jennifer Lincoln, also an OBGYN, are fighting against present-day health disparities.
To this day, Black people are less likely to get the same treatment in terms of pain medication. They're more likely to wait longer in the emergency room. They're less likely to be taken seriously. It's a holdover from the days of slavery. And in my field, this plays a huge role in the Black maternal and morbidity crisis. The call to action, doctors, nurses, anybody in the medical field, check your implicit bias.
Staggering statistics show Black women in America die during childbirth nearly 3 times more than white women, making the United States one of the most dangerous developed countries in the world for Black women to give birth. And doctors say the issue for mothers extend through pregnancy and postpartum, and also impact Black babies, who are more than twice as likely to die than white babies.
So higher rates of complications related to childbirth and pregnancy as well. It's huge. And it's something that in a population, childbearing women in general are young, healthy women. And then these are not women who should be suffering these extreme complications or be dying, especially in a developed country.
So what do you think can be done for medical professionals already out there to address this?
I think that in reading and listening and understanding why there is fear and distrust of the medical system for certain racial groups, and it's not a personal thing, but it's a whole generational societal thing, I still have to stop myself every time I'm caring for somebody who looks different than me, and I always check. And I say, am I delivering the same level of care here?
These important self-assessments could literally mean the difference between life and death for patients like Charles Johnson's wife, Kira. She died unexpectedly after the birth of their second son in 2016, and Charles says her death was 100% preventable.
For what was supposed to be a routine scheduled C-section at our doctor's recommendation, and on what we expected to be the happiest day of our lives, and really walked into an absolute nightmare. The thing that's so clear to me is that Kira just wasn't seen and valued as human. She wasn't seen in the same way, with the same compassion and the same empathy that the people that were responsible for her life would have seen their own daughters or their own wives or their own sisters. There's no reason that Kira should not be here today.
Charles says for him and his 2 sons, the void left by Kira's death can never be filled.
We talk about mommy all the time, and so I made the decision very early on that I never wanted the topic of Kira to ever be taboo or to be off limits. We do our best to remain positive and to celebrate her, but my brother says it best, it's like there will always be an empty seat at the table.
But he's using tragedy as fuel to affect change, starting 4 Moms for Kira, an advocacy group aiming to change laws and prevent negligence from ripping apart any more families. As for Bruce, he's grappling with the reality of what should have been the start of his family ending tragically in the beginning of his son living a life without his mother.
Now, all I can think about is, Elias growing up without his mother and how he's going to feel when, he's in school and they're doing Mother's Day activities and, making Mother's Day cards. And Elias is not going to have that luxury. And it kills me. It kills me that, whenever we go out to parks, we're going to see full family playing together, and we're not going to have that.
Janae Norman, ABC News, New York.
Okay,
Our hearts
Leona.
go out to those dead. Such a heartbreaking report. Our thanks to Janae.
So that has a lot to do with the work that you do. And usually we don't forget to unmute yourself. We don't always get to look at it in that kind of a frame. I thought that was a good video to show, because it shows like a complete family. It's not like, sometimes we talk about infant mortality and maternal mortality, and it's just sometimes we'll be talking about it like it's like, I had 5 apples and now I have 2 or something like, what I'm saying? But the loss of life and the treatment. I love the fact that this piece talked about the man who was considered the father. I learned all about him when I was in Philly, and the things that he's done. So what's always amazing to me is that this still carries over until today. So when I hear white folks in particular talk about that they wasn't in slavery, but yet we're in still somewhat the same system with some of the same results.
Exactly.
So even though you weren't in 1860 or whatever, you're in 2022 and we're still having the same discussions and outcomes and treatment. What does your job do to kind of counter infant mortality and maternal mortality?
So the service we offer at Black Mothers United is advocacy. Each mom is given a pregnancy coach to work with. She then enrolls in the program through our mommy platform. And through that platform, there's a care plan. The things that the mom answers the questions to what she may need, because you never know what a person's going through. So they get that pregnancy coach. The pregnancy coach works with them, and then they work with them. They follow them through the pregnancy until 4 months after they have the baby. All our services are free. We're able to do safe sleep classes. We also have Titty Talk, which is a lactation specialist. We meet monthly. They do Titty Talk monthly. They do Mommy Mingles monthly, where a group of women come together. The moms come together and talk about certain things. This last Titty Talk we had 15 moms on, and it was a great conversation. And today I can still remember one mom saying when she went to the hospital, she went to have the baby and they gave her fentanyl. And she was like, I don't want that. And the nurse was like, well, you're in a lot of pain. You need that. And she says, no, I don't want that. She kept saying, no, I don't want that. And suppose she had been there and didn't have that voice for herself. So she ended up, they gave her a little bit of it, but she said they didn't know her to just give her that medicine. Like, you just don't come in a room and say, well, you're in pain, so this is what we're going to give you. Yeah, you guys don't have other pain medicine? Because now my baby's going to have fentanyl in the baby system.
Right on.
And so I was happy to hear the mom being able to advocate for herself. It was, some of the stuff she said was hurtful, because why should we have to go in there and have to prove who we are?
Yeah.
You don't treat other people like that. And I've been, like I said, I've done this for 21 years. I can remember when my goddaughter had her baby. The nurses were just nasty for no reason at all. Here we have a young mom. She has support, but not a lot of support. And she had drug history. But the women were, those nurses was whispering. And so I turned around and I looked, I said, if I can hear you, she can hear you. We know that she have drugs in her system. She's a drug user. We know this. But why are you whispering about it? That's not the important part right now. It's the important part is to get the baby. Let her have her baby. And it was just ugly. And I just feel like when our women go into the hospital, they are not treated the same. Right. They're not treated the same. We had a client who had, I believe she had 5 babies. And when she left UC Davis, they didn't give her anything. They sent her home with a box. So how was she going to fit 5 babies in the cardboard box? You wouldn't have done that to nobody else.
Yeah, yeah.
So we teach our women, and they're able to get our doula services are free. We have 2 paid staff doulas, and then we have 2 doulas through our staff that are trained to be doulas. So you don't have to go in by yourself.
Right on. Right on. I think that I know that the Birthing Project, that was one of the reasons why Catherine Hall Trujillo had the vision, if you will, to start a clinic.
Right.
And Tina, who hired you, Tina, who's now Roberts, she was Hickman at the time. Her job was to put the clinic, to make the clinic, basically to put it together.
Right.
And one of the main reasons is that we did not like because we were already providing the social support, you know, through
Mhm.
the Sister Friend program. But we didn't like the way doctors were treating our women. That was really why we started our own clinic. That was the sole reason why we started the clinic. And I feel like, that's why it's important to know history.
Exactly.
It's important to know history because we'll be thinking this is just happening to us now, but it isn't. And I feel like that's why you got to know who came before you and why we honor that, because at least they got up to do something. Do you think that here in Sacramento, so for instance, in California,
Mhm.
the maternal mortality stats I just read in the California report, that it is 6 times more likely a Black woman dies in California. Now, we make up 12% of the population as Black people in California.
Okay.
So 6 times to us is extremely high.
Very high. And then the question is why?
Yeah. Why is that? So, why is it important for us to have a place like Black Mothers United? Why do we have to have that right now?
I believe it's important because I just feel like our moms don't deserve to be by themselves. They should have a platform of sisters that look like them so they can come together and discuss what's going on in their personal, and not in their personal life, in their pregnancy life. Like I said, we just had this conversation, 15 moms was on. To get 15 moms to come together and talk, I mean, my heart was overjoyed. Our goal is always to try to get 10 moms on, but to have 15 Black women come together and talk about the different things that went on during their pregnancy, and how some nurses are there just to do a job. There's some nurses who do care. That's in any job. Some people are there just to do my 8 to 5. Me, I love my job. I feel like I would have an empty space if I didn't do the work that I do. And I feel like I need to give back, and I've done it for so long. I feel like I still need to continue to give back. I love working with our Black women. It's not always easy, but when you build relationships, and a lot of jobs, when you go to these jobs, these 8 to 5 jobs, you're not allowed to build a relationship with your client. We're able to build a relationship with our client. Like, we took a whole baby home and raised her for 5 years.
Yes, I remember that.
Tomorrow she'll be 21. She does not have her daughter. My daughter, thank God, is raising her. So she's still in the same household.
Right on.
And we don't make her feel less than. She made some mistakes. When she get her life together, if she ever want to come see the baby, she's more than welcome to see the baby. But we have to put some rules down. You cannot be high and come see the baby, because the baby was a drug baby, and you could see the difference. But when a lot of people counted her out, she's now 2, counted her out to say she wasn't gonna make it. She started school. She's very smart. She's potty trained. She does not drink a bottle. When she went to her first day of school, the lady said, "Are you sure she hasn't been in school before?" And she hadn't, but she's very smart. And for me, it's just continuing to do that work, Rolanda, continuing to pour into these young ladies. They call you, they need diapers. Yes, it doesn't matter that you're not in our program. If I have some diapers, and we do have a diaper program, so I'm able to give those moms diapers. It's just being able to pour back into those young ladies' lives, whichever way we need to. We had a mom who wanted to go to prom. Just because you're pregnant, you shouldn't be. That don't mean you're not supposed to go to prom. We figured out how to get her there. We came together. And I think when people are going to see the new movie that's out, if we came together as Black women,
Woman King,
how strong we would be.
Yeah.
How strong.
I really think, Leona, that what you're doing and what you're talking about is how we survived in this country. I mean, we have them in programs. I always say the Birthing Project opened the whole doorway for industry that people are doing that's not even like they could not possibly have went to school for this because there was no school for this.
Right.
This is something that we innately did in the Black community. We took care of each other. Even though people weren't even related to each other, we took care of each other. So that was something that we couldn't even put in the job description at the county as a social worker. Like, all of us at the Birthing Project took home somebody's baby at one time. I've done it twice. I had Creation, I had Destiny, and I had a set of twins for like a week, which was work. But thank God for my mama, because that's who really took care of it. It really wasn't me per se. So I'm saying that extended family concept that we do as Black folks, it's hard. People try to put that in their curriculum, but it has to be in your heart. Like, it's really not something you can train somebody to do.
You can't. And we talk about that all the time. Yeah. We say that. And I just feel like when you had your program, it goes on. Now, look at Lex. Today, she turned 35. 35.
Wow. That's right. I thought she was October the 2nd. She's October the 1st.
That's Kiara's October the 2nd.
Okay, I got them mixed up.
Just think, 35. She came to you in your program when she was in high school.
Yes.
And now she's a mother of 2. And she's doing very well for herself. But if it wasn't for people like you, like Miss Tina, like Miss Catherine, that poured into young women, we wouldn't be who we are. And people always feel like you don't have to. Sometimes people fall out. It doesn't. You still got to respect the work that they do. You got to respect who they are. You may not like them. It doesn't matter. It's not about us and our feelings. We got to save our young women, because if we don't, the streets will do some things to them. It's a lot of times they don't make it back. Rolanda, I mean, when I say I love my job, I love my job. I'm not bragging about it. I believe as Black women, that's what we're here for, to support each other, whichever way we need to support them. Last week I had the hardest thing was, my goddaughter's just out there on the drugs, and it bothers me that I can't save her. I wish I had this magic wand to say, you don't have to use drugs no more, or I take you home with me. But I have to let her be her. But I had to leave her in the north area with a tent on the side of the road. That hurt me like hell to have to do something like that. Every day, my prayer for her is to just deliver her from that. And I know it can't happen. Really? It's just hard. It's hard because you have so much against you. It's not like when we walk into the hospital to have a baby. I'm here. Roll out the red carpet because I'm here. They don't do it like that.
Right.
They don't. They look down on you. They look down on you. People in this day look down on young women who get pregnant, but sometimes babies come into young ladies' lives to change them.
Right on. And they have to get to the planet. I always feel, Leon, and I'm not like a real religious person, but I feel like even when people are doing that, it's like, go back to what it is that you believe. And I know that you know that all life is sacred.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so for me, I know when I see a Black woman and she's pregnant, I try to be as excited as I can be. Even if the circumstances is crazy, I'll be like, oh my God, what you gonna have, girl? That is awesome. You know how awesome that is? Like, I just turn it up because I feel like life is coming. And I feel like, everybody can't have children. Like, what a blessing that is, that life finds its way. You know what I mean? And we got to do our part because I even in slavery, and slavery was brutal. The one thing that kept us going was the hope that we put in our children that will see days we will never even imagine.
Right.
And I feel like we got to reclaim that for ourselves. I'm not too much worried about what other people think. I mean, I think you should address it in law and order and, policy. But I feel like in our community, we used to really just celebrate our babies coming.
And we do, like, for instance, and we talked about it, Kenya, and who is the another manager, the director. She said, it's people look down, but we need to celebrate. And so we do a photo shoot. Each mom who enrolls, gets a free photo shoot. Pretty dress, get a picture with their partner. They and just come together and just the photos are beautiful. And we have a photographer. They go to him and he takes these photos. And to be able to give these photos to the mom when we had Banana Festival that just passed, we have 2 staff members that take photos. So they were out there taking photos of mom. There was a mom out there. She had a baby who was 3 weeks old. She sit down. She came into the little tent and she sit there and she breastfed him. Yeah, matter of fact, let's see. The first one is my mom and the one in the yellow was my mom's. And look at those pictures.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
I love that.
And so somebody there was like, oh, we need those pictures at, I forgot which place it was. He said, we need those pictures. And sometimes you want to look and you be like, why? But they're beautiful. That's why.
That's right.
We had an older gentleman out there. He was like, oh, I'm not the baby daddy, but that picture is beautiful.
Right on.
Yeah.
I love that. Because that's also about, we know that when a woman is pregnant, the outside environment is just as important as the inside environment that the baby is living in. So your baby feel all of that. If you're joyful, if you know what I mean, like your baby comes onto the planet with sometimes conditioned things because of your experience. Right. Let's just be honest. But there's a way to reverse that. I'm always reminded of Mother Hale. I love her, blessed memory. This is a woman in the crack area in Harlem who took in everybody's babies. Mm-hmm. And one of the things she said that she could give those babies was love. Celebrating them, loving on them, hugging on them. That's what she did. And I feel like sometimes I think we forget that we could do that.
Exactly. And at the birthing project, we did that. When you stepped inside that door, you were somebody.
That's right.
And the clinic part is missing now. We only do the health part now. Yeah. But the clinic, that clinic setting is missing. But for me, I'm never gonna forget where I came from. So I still try to give what was given to me.
Let's really quick, Leona, let me show you this next piece. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to go into detail, the Doula Care, the Mommy Mingle. I'm going to bring your website up and we're going to share that because I think we're in the time now. We're moving into the fall, going towards winter. And this is like the months where people struggle the hardest because it's the days are shorter, the nights are longer. Mm-hmm. And, social support during that time is super duper important. I don't even know how to explain that to people. It's just something about that. Holidays are coming. A lot of people struggle with family. You know what I mean? So if you are a woman who is pregnant, we want to make sure we know your story and that we can help you. Hold on just a minute. Here we go. Hold on. Let me hit this button here. Let me use this. This probably be better.
There's something special in the moments before a woman introduces new life into the world. Ebony Bradley, a mother of 4, says helping expectant parents is more than a job. It's her mission.
I was just like, other women, especially Black women, they have no idea of their birth options. And so I felt like that was something I had to do. I felt called to do it.
A licensed doula based in Dallas for over a decade, Ebony has supported hundreds of birthing mothers.
When women do reach out to you, what are some of their top reasons for seeking out a doula?
When women reach out to me, especially Black women, the number one thing is, like, without fail, fear. They're afraid.
She says she's seen firsthand how pregnant moms feel disempowered in the decision-making around their own health care, and says she's seen doctors worry about statistical risks and sometimes dismiss women's concerns rather than listening to them.
Doctors in general, most of them kind of tend to look at birth as something they want to manage. Birth is not by the book.
The United States has the highest maternal mortality rate among wealthy nations, and it's only getting worse, especially for Black moms who are 3 times more likely to die from a pregnancy-related cause than their white and Hispanic counterparts. Dr. Joya Creer-Perry is a leading specialist on maternal mortality among Black mothers.
We know the consequences of racism, sexism, gender oppression are causing us to die within childbirth. We have never invested in people who are the most marginalized. Our healthcare system was created to ensure that people who have resources are able to get things.
A retired OBGYN, she says more support for birthing moms is needed.
So when someone first comes to you and they are just starting to learn about their options, and they're like, what is a doula?
Yes.
How do you explain it?
I always like to describe it as like a birth planner for your birth. We sit with you and we really help you to see what the vision is for your birth, help you find your power through education, through giving you emotional support, and then helping you with resources, connecting you.
A 2013 study found that, quote, socially disadvantaged mothers who use doulas were 2 times less likely to experience a birth complication. Ebene often partners with licensed midwives like Kenesha Jones and Therese Fruget, who are medically trained to deliver babies.
Midwifery care is not just about caring for her body. We're caring for the whole woman. So we want to know what your mental state is. We want to know what your emotions are like. In our practice, they actually have lots of choices. We do their birth either here at the birth center or in their home. Some women come into our care and they're like, well, I really want to birth in the hospital, but I want midwifery care. And so we collaborate with an in-hospital provider and they get to have their hospital birth.
A 2018 study found that U.S. states with more robust midwifery services reported better maternal care and better birthing outcomes, suggesting that states that have better resources dedicated to healthcare have better results. Ebene, Therese, and Kenesha are providing collaborative care for a new birth in this quiet neighborhood in Arlington, Texas.
Great. So are you starting to feel some signs? Notice any different signs in your body?
A few days ago, like had back contractions.
The bottom leg is going to go straight.
Justina Arrington is a mother of 2. Her 3rd baby is due any moment.
So take me back to your first birth. Your son, he's 8 years old, right?
He just turned 9 this year. Yes, ma'am. It was real tiresome. And it was like very traumatic, especially when I found out my doctor that I had been working with the entire time, he was not going to be there.
Justina's prenatal records
it was for babies.
Show her baby started showing signs of fetal distress. And she says the doctor told her for her safety and her baby's that she would need an emergency C-section.
When they first told you that you needed a C-section, what went through your mind?
Oh, I immediately started crying.
Justina says though she was terrified of the surgery, she opted to undergo another C-section for her 2nd pregnancy after her doctor warned she could be in labor for days.
And once she told me like, hey, it's probably going to be like another 48 to 72 hours before this baby actually comes, it was like, okay, well, I don't want to do that. Let's just do the C-section.
The CDC reported that in 2020, about 1 out of every 3 deliveries in the U.S. were C-sections. Justina says the recovery from her 2 C-sections was painful. When she found out she was pregnant the 3rd time, she and her husband were determined to have a vaginal birth at home, though that came with even greater risks for her baby. According to the American College of Obstetricians and gynecologists, planned home birth is associated with more than 2 times increased risk of perinatal death and 3 times increased risk of seizures or serious neurological dysfunction in newborns. Only 1% of women in the U.S. opt to give birth at home.
But advocates like the Midwives Alliance of North America say these statistics are too generalized and do not take into account the option for midwifery or a doula in the home or the outcomes for low-risk pregnancies.
Why did you, even with the risk of a home birth, why did you decide to give birth at home versus, say, a birthing center?
It was a little bit cheaper to be at home. I knew that like my mom was coming from out of town and there was going to be other people here.
You were just surrounded by love.
Yes. For sure.
Medical organizations recommend a hospital setting for VBACs, vaginal births after C-sections, instead of at home to allow for quick access to emergency medical care if it's needed.
She came into our care because we knew we'd give her a chance. We knew we'd let her labor and at least try to have her baby at home. We want her to know that she is at higher risk than most mothers would be.
First thing we do is we have to get the previous records from her C-sections. We have to make sure that the surgery was done in a manner that is safe for her to try an out-of-hospital birth. And once we do that, then we go about preparing her prenatal.
Justina's birth team has worked with many women who desire VBACs. Success rates nationally range from about 60 to 80%. But having a birth team can be costly. Licensed midwifery services can sometimes be covered through insurance plans, but that, along with the cost of hiring a doula, can be a big barrier for families. Only 6 states currently provide Medicaid reimbursement for doula services. Several more states have recently passed legislation or are considering adding doula coverage to Medicaid programs.
We're all deserving of justice and joy. So if we invested in health as a right, we would have nobody in this country who doesn't have access to whatever kind of birth that they want.
Ebony says her doula practice has been compelled to offer alternative payment methods like scholarships to step in to fill the gap.
So these are just regular index cards.
To prepare the space for delivery, Justina and Ebony set up an affirmations board adorned with ultrasounds and words of encouragement.
One thing that's always stood out to me was like, you were created for this. Like your body was created to do this.
That's right there. Good morning. So Justina just let me know her mucus plug came out the rest of the way last night with a lot more bleeding. So my contractions are about 2 to 4 minutes apart for the last 25 minutes.
She's feeling a lot of pressure in her pelvis. So it's time for us to go.
Lena, listen to my voice. Slow your breathing. You're right. You got this. Okay? Your baby's right here. I can see head. And if you want, you can reach down and touch. Here she comes, Jerry.
After 6.5 hours in labor, Justina successfully gave birth to her healthy baby girl, Taylin.
Just to be able to find a team that was willing to take me on, that was willing to give me all of the information that I needed. It's a big relief, and it's just a big feel of like wow, I did it.
What's Taylin like?
Oh my goodness. She's amazing. She's precious. Just knowing that I was able to have her naturally, it just feels different.
We're here on the ground doing the work, helping. What we see is healthy birth outcomes. We see healthy mamas, healthy babies, and all because they had doula support, midwifery care, and just love.
Wow.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos.
Okay.
Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel.
Wow.
If you'd
So
like to
that
download
when I
videos,
see
show
that
highlights, and
piece,
watch
sorry,
live event coverage.
get this off. When I seen that piece, Leona, I immediately thought about the days at the Birthing Project. When I watched it, I thought about Dr. Joya was in there
I
from New
see.
Orleans. I just thought about like there is something that you can't replace in terms of the support that a woman would need. Seeing those women who look like you, not just look like you, and I get that part, but that feel you.
Right.
Because I met Black people that look like me, but they felt very foreign.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the people who really respect us, love us, want to celebrate us. I like the fact that they know what the body can do.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? The fact that she had that vaginal birth after having those 2 C-sections, but all that support she had with those
That
women.
team. It was,
Yeah. So I want to talk with you a little bit. I'm gonna pull up this part of your site about the services. Let's start with the Doula Care.
okay.
What is Doula Care?
So we sign, they get assigned at, I think it's like, well, anyway, they get assigned to a doula. And because of the Medi-Cal, so we have 2 paid doulas on on that, like Kairos is a doula, and then we have Joy, who's a doula. So the moms, or as Kenya Fambibi assigns those moms to those 2 doulas, and they work with that mom. We're talking about a birth plan. What is it that you want to happen during your birth? A lot of times women don't know what a doula is. A lot of times women say it's costly. It is costly. But the services, our doulas are free to all our moms. And that it makes having a doula for your birth makes it different. You know, when you may be in pain, the doula is able to advocate for you and say, this mom has a birth plan, and we want to not follow. We want to honor her birth plan.
Right.
If something happens and we cannot honor her birth plan, we understand that. But a lot of times when women go to the hospital, they feel like they have to stay in the bed and they have to be on their back. That's the way they have to labor. It's not. You need to get up. You need to move. You need to get on your knees. Gravity. Get on the ball. Maybe even take a shower. But sometimes when women, the nurses don't always go that extra mile. You may get lucky and get 1 or 2 of them in there that's going to go that extra mile. Say, sweetie, you don't have to stay in the bed. There's a rail at the end of the bed that they can bend on. And what I loved about the clip you just showed me was how the dad was participating in it. I loved how she took the wrap and put it on the mom, and she held it, and the mom was able to go up and down. Like, they don't do that. It's like it's just have a baby. You go to your water breaks, you go to the hospital, you have the baby. They forget that it's not always like that. Some people labor longer than other women.
Right on. I always look at doulas as like a sacred work.
Yeah.
Because you have to really understand birth and mothers and environment around that whole sacred work. You know what I mean? Bringing life from one reality to a new reality is really sacred work.
It is.
Like, we get to watch the witness. This is just me. I think that when you see a baby come into the world, it's like seeing God in the person to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because that baby takes that breath and then they're like, like over here with us. And they were just breathing through their mom. You know what I mean? So that's amazing. I noticed on the Black Mothers United .org, y'all have information like, what does a doula do? What's the benefits of doula care? What are doulas? Improving birth experiences, which that's another major thing. And doulas versus midwives. Like, sometimes you'll see doulas and midwives working together, depending on, I have a midwife friend. So one thing I do want to ask you about the doulas is the experience. How can doulas help you improve your birth experience?
Because you get to talk to them, and they have different techniques they will teach the moms. And every doula is different. You know what I'm saying? They don't all work the same. What may be good for this one, and I always remember, and I always hear Kenya, and I know we've all been trained to be a doula. How women labor when in their back, and I'll never forget. She said, "Well, you get that rice sock, and we always had these white socks, and so that's something cheap. Fill it up with rice. You put a little lavender in there, and during the when the mom is in labor, you're able to put that on the mom's back to try to help her, rubbing on the mom. And you have to be able to. I feel like when you in there with the mom, you have to have a relationship with the mom, because you have to remember, when you're in labor, you're not wanting to be touched.
That's so true.
So you have to build that relationship with that mom. Make that mom has to trust you, because she's getting ready to have a baby. She has to trust you. So that has to have a relationship. You need to build that relationship. You just can't go in being like, okay, this is what was going to happen. The doctors and nurses do that. I don't want my doula to do that. I want me and my doula to have a relationship.
Right on. Let's look at the lactation consultant. Now, I personally think this is just, man, I think that's one of the joys of being a woman, that you're able to produce milk.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about the lactation support.
So we have,
even though some moms want to do it, not all women can do it though sometimes.
But there's ways. I mean, most women hear the horrible stories about breastfeeding, but there are some beautiful stories. Again, I have the story where our baby, her mother didn't breastfeed her. So when Alexis got her, Alexis found a group of women who gave milk to the baby. So for her first, she was not formula fed. She drank breast milk, and it was free. She went onto a site, Human Breast Milk for Babies, and we went as far as Stockton and picked up milk. There was a mom who lost her baby. Alexis reached out to the mom, and the lady said, when I first talked to you, I knew that I needed to give you the milk.
Wow.
We had to literally get a deep freezer because it was so much milk given to the baby. Wow. So for her first year, she drank breast milk, and it did come from other women. But
so what was the benefits of that?
Health. She wasn't always sick. She maybe that's why she's so smart. She got all those other women, but just they call it liquid gold. And we always hear women, a lot of young women, I'm not breastfeeding my baby. I don't want saggy titties. If your titties is gonna sag anyway. You're gonna stay perky all your life. So why not give your baby something that's going to benefit your baby? And so you have to teach the moms. And what I like about the lactation piece is titty talk. We had to, and like it's called titty talk. And some
I
of
like
the people,
that.
Yeah, and go in there and talk about it. Be honest. And I think in any work you do, Rolanda, you have to be honest. It's not going to be easy breastfeeding, because I didn't breastfeed. But if I had a baby now, I would say I'm going to at least try to breastfeed. A lot of women don't think they can have a baby natural. You can have a baby natural. I did not have I did not do the epidural. And we try to teach our moms. Some moms feel like if you get them early enough and you start talking to them about the different things that's going to happen, when they get ready to have the baby, then they're going to lean on. That's what the doula is for. Lean on the doula. You don't have to have an epidural. Our bodies are made to do this, and there's ways to take the pain away.
That's real.
And you have to remember that when they sticking you in the needle in your back with that needle, you have to be still. And I remember I had back problems, and they went to try to stick. I was like, I can't do this. It hurts so bad. So you just you lean on your doula, lean on your lactation specialist. When you go to the hospital, if they tell them on their birth plan, I do not want my baby to be formula fed. Put the baby on me and let me do what I need to do. And it's just about education, teaching. I love these pictures.
Wow. Tell us about this mommy mingle.
So monthly we come together, and as long as a mom is enrolled in our program, she's able to come back to our mommy mingles. We have topics. We talk anywhere from finances. We talk about relationships. Right now, postpartum depression is on a high. We talk about that. We talk about loving yourself. You have to be able to, you can't love nobody else if you don't love yourself. We do crafts. We've done where the women decorated the mirror. Get up every morning and look in that mirror and tell that mirror that you love that person that they see. What else? We do cook. We've cooked before. I'm just looking at all these babies because now Elias is 5 and in kindergarten.
Wow.
And the mom in the blue and red is now having she's a repeat client. She's now having a girl. She has 3 boys.
Wow.
Now she's having a girl, her and her husband.
I know.
I think the mom
beauty,
that, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Leon.
One of the young moms had her baby in the ambulance. The second mom, she had her baby in the ambulance. And she was in the girls program. She was one of the moms that was in the youth program that they had. But just to look at these moms, and then what I love about it, Rolanda, is when I have mamas from Birthing Project who now have daughters who are now in our program. And it just, I mean, it keeps a warm feeling in my heart, and know that I have to continue to do the work that I do. For me, being able to share our stories with these moms, when they come to a safe place, they're going to talk.
Right.
And so with Mommy Mingle, like I said, we have lots of topics. We talk about abuse, depression. We talk about it all. And we ask our moms, what do they want to talk about? It's not what we want to talk about. It's what the moms want to talk about. Moms who may want to get their GED, moms who might want to open their own business. So then we bring in guest speakers. A lot of guest speakers.
Right on. I feel like it's just important to just lift up women, especially when they're with child.
Yes.
I just don't know how you could be cruel to somebody that's pregnant. But I mean, I don't know. I think that when women are with child, it's a way for you to put your imprint on that child before it's here. I really believe babies know good energy. They know when somebody's loving on their mama, which is loving on them. They know when the environment changed. They read energy better than adults.
Right.
When there's a kid and they don't want to go to somebody, I'd be like, hold up. You know what I mean? Like they're like the purest form you're gonna get.
Right.
So you wanna, I don't know. I feel like when you come in contact with women that are pregnant, I think that's a beautiful thing. Like, wow, like you're carrying a whole nother life in your body.
Right.
That's incredible.
And like you said, you got to love on them. When I was transportation driver, I used to have my young moms and Miss Leona, you know, I've been craving cornbread, girl. Where's the cornbread place up? We pulling up and getting you some cornbread then. I love to just love on my moms.
Right on.
they may need a journal. We able to give them journals each time on our mommy mingles. What I love is $25 ain't a lot, but it is to some.
Yes, it
or
is.
we give it like when they first come on, first person on gets $25. If you have your camera on, you get an extra ticket. If you participate, you get an extra ticket, and at the end we just spin the wheel, and if your name comes up, you win a gift. We give out a lot. And what I love and I really hate COVID, because when COVID came, we couldn't do in person, so we do Zoom calls now. The last titty talk, not this last one, the titty talk before that was in person, and it was 5 women in there, and I always tell them, who's meant to be here is the moms that came. That meant you needed to be there. And those 5 moms was able to share. And so we have a group of women. You may have an older mom, a younger mom, a middle-aged mom. They came together and they talked about that. And the feedback, that's how you when you get positive feedback, you're doing something right.
Right on.
Or like I have a mom who reached out to me, Miss Leona, that picture you guys took of me, can you send that to me? No problem. And I can remember I think she has 5 babies now. I can remember her coming in the first time when I came back. She popped that chair down. She didn't know me. She said, and I think I only had met her like once or twice. And the third visit, she was like, I need to talk to you. And she plopped that chair down and we talked for hours. That's what I love about my job, is because I cannot put stipulations on what I do.
Right on.
I may need to talk to you for 2 hours.
Right.
And so I have to have that listening ear, and I love that about me. I have that listening ear. I do not sugarcoat. I always keep it real. And I have a saying is, when you get on that white man, it's not easy to get off. And when I say the white man, what I'm talking about is that white paper. You cannot, I have to address my mom. You cannot be going into no labor room or to the doctor's office acting no fool. And we have a way when we go there. We don't go to the doctor's office with bonnets on and pajamas. If I'm coming to pick you up, if I got my clothes on, I need you to come dressed too. Don't come out and get in my car with no pajamas on, because we're not going to go too far. We're not even leaving out. I need you to put some clothes on. I literally had a mom come out with a towel on her head, and she said, well, they told me it was cute. I said, well, who told you it was cute? An old white lady told her it was cute. I said, sweetie, she lied to you. What I did for her is, remember, Miss Catherine used to always give us sarong. I brought a sarong, and I said, now what you can do with this sarong, since you're so tiny, you can cut it in half, and you'll have a piece for your head and a piece for up here.
Right now.
You have to teach the young ladies, if they smelling, you tell them. It's a way to talk to them.
But Leona, that's what we used to do when we had community. Like every time I hear you talk and then I witness your work, I feel like that's what they be trying to do when they do programs. But nobody can replace Big Mama.
Nobody.
Like, you know what I mean? That it is something that's ingrained in you and that you had to witness your whole life. That's not something you're going to learn. Nothing wrong with getting education, but you're not going to get that when you get your degree. Like, that's something that you have to have inside of your being. And that work that you're doing, even though we write it up because you have to get paid, I get it. But there is something about having that it. Like, you have it. And we grew up in our community. We had a whole bunch of Big Mamas with it before the crack era came. They were everywhere.
Right.
So now we just have pieces of Big Mama everywhere. And Big Mama will tell you the truth. I'm not talking about the people who condone bad behavior, because Big Mama never did that. She would tell you straight up, like, boo, that ain't gonna work, boo-boo. Like, you can't do that. Like, no, your baby's depending on you. No, that's not cool. You go coming out here looking like that. Like, they will tell you, and it was taken in love. Not in criticism. Like, it's a love to it. And when somebody's telling you something for the betterment of your person.
Exactly. And they respect you. They respect you. I have a lot of respect at my moms. And wherever I see them at, Miss Leona, Miss Leona, Miss Leona. I had was working with a young mom, and she came from an agency, and I can't even think of the woman's title, but anyway, her job was to work with this young lady. She's a teenager, first of all, and she's in your program. Something got to be wrong. So why aren't you telling her the things that she needs to be? Why? You still gonna get paid. Why can't you go that extra mile? So for instance, the mom, her food didn't last. So when the worker came in there, the next time I come in here and you don't have food, I'm writing you up and blase. Why you couldn't have said, because what Miss Leona said was, I will take you grocery shopping. And that's not in my job title to do that.
Right on.
But I will take you grocery shopping and show you what you need to do. This month, you buy the big seasoning. And then next month, you don't have to buy seasonings. You buy a 20-pound bag of sugar versus a 5-pound bag of sugar. What? I don't understand. Why that didn't take nothing out of me to say that. So the chicken, like, we buy the family pack of chicken wings and we break them up. It's only you and your son. He not eating, your baby. He not eating chicken. It's just you. So you put 4 or 5 pieces of chicken in there, and then you have a meal. Get some of the whatever vegetables you like. Get canned vegetables. This lady, she was not going to do that. She told me that is not her job. I said, well, what is your job then?
But see, that's something you would have learned from Big Mama. That is something you would have learned. Or the older woman in your community would say, baby girl, let me show you how to do this. I was talking with my aunt, and I just love her. She was saying that when she was young, my mother did that for her. She said, I learned so many things about cooking and preparing food for my children. And your mom taught me a lot of stuff. And, you know what I mean? And so I feel like we are missing that, Leona. That's why we're having these struggles, that we're missing those pieces. So I just want to say thank you, Leona. Thank you for all your work. Thank you for just your heart, the way that you work with our families and our community and our girls. Thank you for just being you. Like, your ancestors and your parents and your family, they all should be so proud of you, because you do them well. You do them proud.
And you my shero. I have I have a few sheros that I look up to, and I always say I may be older, but these women are my sheros. You, Miss Tina, Miss Catherine, Javon, I look up to you. I literally look up to you guys, because it's like, I want to do what they do. They showed me the way, so now I have to be able to show other women the way. Kenya, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, we have to work together. I'll never forget. I never forget when we went to Honduras. And they came together to give us what we need. What somebody from this village brought the cups. Somebody from this village brought the bowls, and the silverware. And I'll never forget that. They came together to take care of us while we visited them. Yes. So I love you, and I appreciate you for all that you do.
Sorry about that. The car alarm was going off, so somebody was telling me that the Jets or something. Anyway, no, you're right. I never forgot that. But see, I think that's what women do, Leona. They pull together. And we had the benefit of working with a team of women. That's why you can't tell me nothing about the birthing project, the good, the bad, the whatever. I learned some great lessons there. I know what Black people could do. Before we had this whole industry called the nonprofit industrial complex, my friend calls it. There was a place called the Birthing Project, and even though we all didn't get paid like we probably should have been paid, man, we built some stuff. I know what Black people can do when we pull ourselves together. And I think for me, that was one of the highlights of my life, that when I'm talking to people, when they talk about what people ain't doing, I'm like, I don't know about people like that, because I've only been around people who were doers.
Exactly.
We never thought we could not do it.
And for me, I have to tell, like, I'll go past 1900 T Street today. I say, Jay, that's where it all started. Tell my granddaughter, that's where it all started.
Right.
That's where it all started. And she was born into the birthing project. We have so many babies that was born into the birthing project. I swear, if we have this big reunion, it would be like the people wouldn't understand, and people still don't understand. When we're at work today, I say, I'm not bragging, but I done seen some things and I know some things. And you may have a little degree over me, but I got the street degree.
Right on. Right. You know what I'm always, though, I always tell you when people are thanking me for stuff, I was saying, nah, I'm really standing on the shoulders of some giants. Like Sister Friend, blessed memory. Yeah, I mean, like Miss Joyce Mason. You know, I can just go down the list of all the women who basically personally paved the way for me.
Right.
For me to have to do all, even when I thought I knew some stuff, they still was there. Like, well, baby girl, I'm still going to show up. I'm still going. You know, that's the reason why I can do all the stuff that I'm doing. To be very honest with you, you know, it was those women who believed in my ability, and when I didn't know, they taught me.
They taught, and that's what I love. They taught you. And any job, no, everybody's not going to get along, but sometimes you got to stand there and listen to somebody, because there is some people that know something. And when we was at the birthday project, I know we learned something. I'll never forget Miss Brenda.
I forgot about Miss Brenda.
She used to get on my nerves, but what she told me, she said, answering the phone, are you smiling? Because I can sense through this phone you're not smiling. And so you know when you answer the phone, you answer the phone a certain way. You have to respect your elders. And that's what I know for me. I respect my elders. God, I love Sister Friend. I miss Sister Friend. I know Sister Friend had believed in us.
Yes, she did.
Miss Brenda believed in us.
Yeah, and she taught us to take care of children. That was her main thing.
Exactly. And when you say we didn't get paid a lot, we didn't. But when Miss Captain came back from wherever, Cuba, wherever, she always brought us something back.
Yes, she did.
Always.
Yes, she did. I'm just saying now it's a whole industry. Is what I'm saying. But man, like, and I also think our infant mortality was looking a little different at that time.
It was.
Just something to think about. When you said Sister Friend, when I say brother handsome, that ain't nothing but me channeling Sister Friend. When I see a young man, especially if he acting a fool, I'll be like, brother handsome. You know, because she would always, it's like when she would say it, you would like almost sit straight up. Like you couldn't even like, you know, act a fool. Like it was, you know, but she also came from people who did that to survive.
Right. You can't.
She talked about her dad. She talked about, you know, living in Los Angeles. She talked about being a teacher. Like all of those things go into what made the Birthing Project engine run.
Or how you dress. You don't come in here looking like any old, no. I need you to go back out and then come back in. And if you got an attitude, just let me know and you could go home and then come back tomorrow.
So Miss Brenda taught me the lesson of giving people things, returning things to people the way that they gave them to you. One time I borrowed a quarter from her to catch the bus because I was short. I needed a quarter. And she gave me a whole quarter. So the next day when I came back in, I gave her 2 dimes and a nickel. And she said, that's not what I gave you. I gave you a quarter. And after lunch, I got a quarter and I gave her the quarter. She told me that when I used to borrow her car to drive and she had her seat 2 notches up with the radio on NPR. When I got back in that car after driving it to wherever I took it, my little errands or whatever, I put that seat back up. I put the cushion back in the seat because, you know, she was shorter. And I put that radio right back on NPR.
Right.
It looked exactly the way she gave it to me to use.
And
that
those
helped me a lot in my life, seriously.
Yes, I know because when we at work, they probably be saying, when me and Kenya be talking, they probably be saying what we telling you is it's because of these great women that we're able to have what we have
right
today.
Now. That's real talk, Leona. That's real talk. Thank you so much, Leona, for joining me today. Oh my God, this was such a pleasant afternoon. This is a passion of mine. Like, even though I'm not always in the field, I am working with girls, but there's something about that infant mortality and maternal mortality that I just feel like we kind of sleeping on, because that means that we may have to up our game and do a little bit more work. Not as those who are out in the field doing the work, I get it. But I'm talking about, I think we need to probably do some clinics again. I think we may have to do our own stuff again. I think we have to jump in and save ourselves.
We definitely say that all the time. If I was, yes, one day I know in my heart it's going to happen.
I know it is too. All right, don't go nowhere, Liana. Y'all, thank y'all for joining me on Sunday Sit with Sisters. I will see you all next week. Peace and blessings.
Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.